This is Bitcoin Day. Not Bitcoin yesterday. This is Bitcoin today. Not Bitcoin last year. This is Bitcoin today. This is Bitcoin now. Go and let's get going. This is Bitcoin today. Bitcoin now. Don't look now, but Bitcoin is on fire. This thing is
Bitcoin is on fire.
you have to buy something that you can trust in a trustless world, which is Bitcoin. You know, it is a asset class that protects you. Right? The U.S. federal government's on unsustainable fiscal path, and the U.S. federal government's on unsustainable fiscal path. You do not sell your Bitcoin. Sell your Bitcoin. You do not sell your Bitcoin. Sell your Bitcoin. Bitcoin today. Bitcoin today. Bitcoins. Bitcoin. Not crypto today. Bitcoin. Today. You do not sell your Bitcoin. Sell your Bitcoin. You do not sell your Bitcoin. Sell your Bitcoin. You do not sell your Bitcoin. Sell your Bitcoin. You do not sell your Bitcoin. Sell your Bitcoin. Don't look now, but Bitcoin is on fire.
Bitcoin is on fire.
You have to find something that you can trust in a trustless world, which is Bitcoin. You know, it is a asset class that protects you. Right? The U.S. federal government's on an unsustainable fiscal path, and the U.S. federal government's on an unsustainable fiscal path.
100K and everyone seems bored. What's going
Woohoo!
on?
Wow. Are you updating that in real time? Are we right there?
I'm doing my best to update in real time, but man,
Holy
my thumbs are
cow.
tired.
100
I don't know if
and,
I can do this.
yeah,
Wow.
107. I'm on TradingView right now.
Woohoo. Wow. What is up, everybody? Good morning.
Why are you
Hey,
surprised,
Jamie.
Lauren?
I'm not surprised. I
What
was
did you
actually looking at
think
the
Bitcoin would do?
I was looking at the family in here and
You've
seeing
been on
what's like.
Ethereum so long that you forget that we actually go up with proper, hard, pristine money.
Not even once,
Great point.
guys. Ethereum, not
Great point.
even once.
I took a few hits off the ETH pipe. It's true. Or the ETH pipe. Meth pipe. Yes. Yeah, we were covering logistics of the celebratory Bitcoin Today 100K party / Vegas party right before this started. And as we were speaking, the price started just going parabolic even more. So we decided to start a few minutes early, folks. We're doing logistics of how we're going to pay our bar tab at the event and different things like that. So Cosmo is going to actually be the guy who handles the money and the logistics when it comes to how we're working that whole side of things. So any further donations to the now 100K / Vegas pleb party, uh, work it through Cosmo because he's decided to. Thank you for that, Cosmo. Take the ball and run with it on that one because we all had different ideas. Terrence just wanted to buy the drinks for the ladies, but I think that the ratio would be we'd have a bunch of drunk ladies. And so, anyway, Cosmo's going to figure all that stuff
No,
out.
no, no. I did
Yes.
the calculation. So
Mm-hmm.
what's
Yep.
the average drink in Las Vegas? What does it cost in fiat terms?
$16,000. No,
Okay.
it's
Well,
in a
I
minute.
was assuming like $15 with tip, right? For some fancy lady
Yeah.
cocktail, right? The kind of drinks you drink, Lauren, like those apple teenies or peach bellinis or whatever it
You would
is.
know it. You have bought me a few
No,
of
I know.
those
I
over the
keep having to
years.
buy you drinks.
You
That's right.
do, I
'Cause
know, and I have to keep covering mine with a cocktail napkin so you don't slip that Rufalin in there.
that's
Gosh darn
well,
it.
you know,
You don't need to do
some
that.
nights I get lucky. Well, here's the
Well,
thing.
hey, you know what? I'm willing. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so with with the small budget we have so far for drinks, which is all we have.
$26.95 in dirty US dollar fiat terms. Go ahead.
Right. So in fiat terms, if you say it's around $15, that's only 66 drinks. If each lady has two, that's 33 ladies. We have 33 ladies that have signed up.
Actually, not quite yet. We have about
Ladies,
14.
all the
14 ladies
ladies.
have signed up. So
Well,
14
I'm
ladies. Some of them are
optimistic,
in the crowd now.
Cosmo.
Maybe we should bring them up and ask them. We sent invites to a couple. So, ladies, come up and tell us what you think about this whole drink idea. We're giving Cosmo ideas. We've
I
totally
think people
differed.
tuned in to talk about Bitcoin, Lauren. There's a lot
that's true.
going
Bitcoin
on
Yeah,
in
today.
Bitcoin,
100K
Hey,
and we
this
Bitcoin.
is
This conversation can wait.
okay.
Yeah.
Can it?
this could be
Can it
set
though?
aside.
Should we table this for now? But we're talking about a potential like multiple drinks for the ladies and water for the boys scenario when we're actually celebrating multiple things. 100K, everybody getting together in Vegas, blah blah blah. Maybe Dilly would weigh in real quick
Who's
before we
buying me
oh, and
drinks?
Jamie's here. We've had actually I can see folks in the audience. A lot of these people want to remain anonymous, but some of the people that are in this space right now have made donations towards buying drinks. Yes, yeah, thank you. Thank you everybody. A lot of these people are super humble too because I would love to throw their names out there, but they're like, no, 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 this is just our appreciation for the family that is a lot of people that listen in and participate. Like to me, everybody is family. Like I used to just listen to all these spaces too, but I felt part, and I want everybody to feel a part. We're all the same. There's no heroes. There's no influencers and any of that BS. We're all the same. So with that said, a lot of the folks in here have donated, so we're probably getting close to $2,000 mark for drinks, and hopefully we can make it even bigger. But people have donated to free drinks. It's just we were trying to figure out the how to do it in conjunction with the venue. But Cosmo is going to run with it. We're just giving him ideas. So, I agree with Terrence somewhat that hey, the ladies should definitely get it. Anyway, ladies, do you want to chime in? Jamie, I mean, you're right there. Like, help us out.
Totally. I'm just drinking my coffee. Yeah, I've lived in Vegas
That's
for
free. Free
coffee's
coffee for
free.
you. Yeah.
Coffee is for closers, man, and I'm on
Coffee's for
Central
closers, baby.
Time.
Central
But
time.
it's at 100K. I was staying up last night waiting for that mark, but yeah, I've lived in Vegas for 10 years downtown. So if anyone has needs any recommendations or whatever, We Scream is an awesome venue. I'm happy to throw down for some ladies' drinks too. Love me some ladies. But it's going to be a fun time. I'm so excited to hang out with all of you guys
Yay. So, hey,
as a
Jamie,
Vegas local.
if Cosmo needs you to like actually physically do some legwork and go down to the venue, would you? Because I
Heck
don't know if
yeah.
he's gonna have any
Oh,
problems
thanks,
getting
Jamie.
to
Yeah,
you
we'll
via
stay in touch. I'm
via
gonna
phone
make a
or
couple
yeah,
calls here, and then we'll.
yeah. See what you can do.
Yeah, Fremont Street is
Sweet.
always a blast, and it's right off of that. And you'll get to see what people call the old Vegas, which is my part of town. I've been a DTLV OG since the Tony Hsieh days when we had a Bitcoin ATM at the Gold Spike. So go check it out. But hit me up if you guys need any recommendations. I can't wait to see you guys
Was
in
Jamie
Vegas.
speaking a foreign language there? I think I figured it out. I think I deciphered the code. She's a
Oh,
OG from the old downtown, the old Fremont.
yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah. When Downtown Project bought 100
very
Teslas back
nice.
in 2013,
Oh
and we all
yeah.
did a bunch of stuff in Bitcoin. It was a lot of fun. So,
Is the gold, you just mentioned the gold spike, is that the same as the gold coast? I'm forgetting.
no, it's not the same as the Golden Nugget or the Gold Coast, but it's a Zappos bought hotel that was
Yes.
turned into some. Yeah, I lived there for about a year when I worked for a startup back in 2013, 2014. But it is now back to a hotel. It's really fun. They have a big backyard with a lot of like big oversized games. Check that out. It should be fun during the week. It's a little quieter, which is kind of good. But yeah, like I said, if you guys need any recommendation, downtown Las Vegas is my backyard. So, but happy to help and excited to see everybody again in my hometown.
The Gold Spike used to have paper, scissors, rock, and guess a number between 1 and 10, which was hard to find those games on the strip.
They have like life size Jenga, oversized like chess. I think they used to have an ice skating rink back there. It's a
There's a
blast.
Airstream trailer in the back where the grass is. Yeah.
Correct. Bands play, use it as a green room. All good stuff. If anyone needs a tour of downtown Las Vegas and all the little spots before or after or sometime during the week, I volunteer. But yeah, like I said, excited. Gonna go back to drinking some coffee. Happy to talk about Bitcoin. Things are taking off.
Hey Thomas, you rang in. we had another the Bitcoin Sovereign popped up here too. Good morning to you. How are you doing today?
Hey, good morning, guys. How you doing?
Dilly's up here. What's up, Dilly?
Hey,
Hey. Any ideas about this party thing and the
no,
gals
I'm just
drinking
I
free?
was just listening to you guys and it sounds like you're gonna have a lot of fun. I'm
Oh,
jealous
you're
I'm
not
not
coming.
going.
Oh, FOMO.
Dude, I
Yeah,
want to
you're gonna
go
miss
so
out.
bad, especially because like Darkside owes me a dinner. We had a bet that he was betting me that GameStop would crash to $20, and it didn't. So like, I mean, I would have free food and free drinks, um, on your guys' dime, I guess, for the drinks, and he would have to buy me a dinner.
Oh, dark side.
I know.
Yeah, well, we actually have a dinner planned with dark side for a handful of us, so you can still come. You can still
I
make it.
want to come.
Get a Greyhound bus ticket, and we'll see you in Vegas.
Well, Danny Moses owes me a Greyhound bus, so I could. Yeah, you're right. Okay, me.
Boom! Look at that,
Yeah,
and you get a free party,
dude.
free
All the bets
Greyhound
I
bus
make on
ride, and a free
Twitter,
meal.
like
You're
nobody
set.
pays up.
So, Tomer's in here. We did a podcast recently that Gigi, who facilitated it all, wanted me to get it out there on this pod and say, or on this space, just to say that it released today. It was a couple weeks ago when it was recorded, but it officially released. So I don't know if Tomer wanted to come up and say anything about it. But I know there's a lot of news, a lot of stuff going on in Bitcoin today. See what I did there? So Terrence, I know you wanted to pivot away from this woohoo, we're all going to Vegas and how are we gonna, get drunk or spend the drinking money, but let's pivot. Terrence.
Oh, there's Tomer. Tomer, are you speaking? Are you? Yeah, oh, no, now he's up. I couldn't see his. I'm not seeing hands. Hang on a sec.
There's no hands.
Hi, I
Hey
am up
Tomer.
here. I'm not a
Hey buddy,
cat.
did you wanna weigh in on the pod that Gigi released or this morning or
Yeah, we should probably just link it up in the nest.
oh great
It
idea.
was a
Yeah.
really good conversation. Loren and I were interviewed by him. It's not the same GG people are familiar with. The different guy who goes by
Right.
the letter
Exactly. And
G
that's
and
what
the letter
fooled me
G.
into going on there. I
Could he
almost
not
just
have picked another
He
letter? I
I
tricked
mean,
almost
there's
you
quit.
with a
26 letters.
pseudonymous, similar identity. But it was a really good conversation. Eric V. Stacks was the other person. I don't know how much has been said here. Eric V. Stacks was the other guy involved, and it's an hour and a half long. You could probably listen to it without losing much at 1.25 times speed.
Well, if you
And it
use
was all
AI to
about
cut out
the
Lauren, just so you hear
Yeah,
Tomer and
no, Terrence
Eric,
is
then it's
actually right.
perfect. Then it's a
If
really
I
high signal podcast.
no, you're absolutely correct. If I listen to any of the things that I say later, I just think I'm even more retarded than I sound in person. So I'm just like,
101,
oh dear
101,
God.
Terrence.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's
you're not
true.
doing a good job of selling it, Lauren. It was a good conversation, and I for the people who are interested in Bitcoin, kind of as a personal journey, maybe a spiritual journey, all those kinds of ideas, like the what. I think some really interesting ideas came up during it, speaking about why it lends itself towards these personal journeys, despite the fact that it's this consensus mechanism and it's just a ledger. It's like it really peels behind the the surface of all of this stuff, and why it's also a powerful uniting force amongst people in a world that is increasingly seeing a lot of divisiveness and disunity. So I think it's a good conversation. I enjoyed it myself. I found it helped me articulate some of the ideas I'd been working on more clearly than I'd ever been able to articulate them before, and so it's kind of inspiring me to consider putting some of these things down in writing to see if they stand that test. But yeah, if you've got an hour and a half where you can go for a walk outside, or you're on a drive where you can go uninterrupted for a bit, it's a pretty good conversation. So
Tomer, are
let's
you
find it and
saying
share
that
it. I'll try to find it.
are you saying that Bitcoin is more than just a database or not?
Oh, you're trying to catch me there. Well, I'm certainly saying it's got a lot more to it than simply being a record of transactions or JPEGs. and whether or not I think it should be a transaction database or anything database is a secondary point. But there's a lot more to it than that, right? Why do we care about it so deeply? I remember many years ago saying, if there's very few pieces of software, if any, that people are prepared to die for the right to run it. And if there's one, it's Bitcoin. Like, why would people care so much that nobody cares enough about Microsoft Word or Angry Birds or Candy Crush Saga to say, let me run this. I'm prepared to, I'm prepared to die for the right to run it. But many people are prepared for the right to run this, and it's because it has to do with their right to life, their right to property, their right to freedom. And once you're on that journey, you're on a very spiritual journey, a journey that makes a lot of difference in your life. And I think that, without trying to recreate the hour and a half podcast that we're trying to tell people to listen to, I think we really peel back the reasons why it becomes so important to people beyond simply you're protecting your property. There's something much more going on. Once you decide to protect your property in this way, the implications of what this means take you on a journey that's unique to you, but ends up leading many people to a similar destination or similar milestones along the way, but in different order.
That was beautiful, Tomer. Articulated as only Tomer could do. AC found the link, and so I posted it up there. So thank you, AC, for that.
So just quick question. So this GG person, not the GG, is this a new podcast, or why have I never heard of this?
It's Gigi Unmasked. It's Gigi steps out from behind the green suit.
No, it's
So,
not.
No, it's
not.
That was a joke.
Believe it or not, Terrence, you haven't heard of all the Bitcoin podcasts that exist.
All 10,300,000. No, actually, there's a hard cap of 21 million Bitcoin podcasts. You didn't.
Well, no, but I mean, look, quite honestly, to have you three on it suddenly, I just thought I must have been missing something because when a new podcast comes on,
I think the story behind the existence of this episode is he's been doing a podcast called Your Bitcoin Story, where people tell their story about how they got into Bitcoin. And he reached out to me and asked me to come on and tell my story. And I said, I honestly don't think anybody wants to hear me tell my Bitcoin story again, especially myself. Like, I've been on at least a half a dozen podcasts where I've done that. And so he said, okay, well, maybe we can do something different. And he'd read some of my writings about the spiritual journey of Bitcoin. And he said, maybe we can do like a roundtable discussion of that. And when he mentioned we would do it with Eric Stacks and Loren, I was like, oh, that sounds like it could be fun. And it turned out to be a really good conversation, right? And like, I think if you've heard everything I've said, there's something. So it's worth listening if you like what I have to say. If you don't like what I have to say, you're probably already bored with what I'm saying here. So I'll just kind of pause there.
Moral of the story, everyone get to one Bitcoin podcast. There's only 21 million.
Yeah, there's only 21 million. Get to one. I know a lot of us started Bitcoin podcasts, and our moms and our aunt and 3 local Bitcoiners listen to them. But some of them do actually take off. But I'm not trying to shoot down Bitcoin podcasts, because I think even if you are just reaching, the people I mentioned, your mom and your aunt and 3 local Bitcoiners, it's still worth it, because it's kind of like the way I feel about these spaces. If we can have a positive impact on 1 or 2 people on every one of these spaces, to me, it's worth it. It's worth the time. And it's not just, for me, it's not even about Bitcoin as much as it is about humanity and love and like all the good stuff. And so to me, like, let's not put people down by saying like, oh, who the hell is this guy? And we don't need another Bitcoin podcast. But to me, it's like, no, keep going, because maybe it's your voice that's going to reach that next person, not what Tomer or myself is saying. So no, keep going, man. I totally sign off on all the Bitcoin podcasts we can get out there. AC hopped up here. Good morning, sir.
Hey, good morning, guys. I just wanted to kind of build on the Your Bitcoin Story GG thing. He's been around for, I think, almost 2 years now, interviewing Bitcoiners, sharing their story. And I think it's really cool. I kind of listen to him quite often because, as more people come into Bitcoin, everybody comes from a different walk of life. And eventually somebody's going to have a story that maybe not be mainstream or not OG, but is going to resonate with people. And so, yeah, good plug for Gigi and his podcast. I really enjoy it.
100%. Yeah, no, I was introduced to Gigi via another European Bitcoin friend of mine. Gigi, at the time I was on the show first, he was living in Russia. I'm not sure. I think he goes back and forth between certain places. But anyway, he's from Europe also, which might be, an issue for a lot of us Americans who get American US centric type things. So yeah, he's not local, but yeah, he's been interviewing people for several years, and like you, AC, I really appreciate the dude. He's a solid Bitcoin homie. So yeah, sign off on that guy. We lost Gabe. Gabe was up here for a second. He probably got a work thing or something. Beagle, long time.
How y'all doing? Happy Thursday.
Yeah, happy Thursday, buddy.
Yeah, it's nice to hear y'all, be chatting with y'all. I've been lurking the last couple of weeks, busy at work, and I can't really jump up here, but I've been listening, and you guys have been doing a great job. You've had some great conversations, so keep it up. It's been good.
Have you been having to work harder and longer because of all the bets you're losing, Beagle?
No, no. After I lost my bet to Josh, I took a break from Twitter gambling for a little while. Yeah, maybe now that we're like pumping again, when we get close, it seems more fun when we're close to all-time high to do it. But yeah, after Josh humbled me greatly with his $84,000 call, I took a little break from my Twitter gambling career.
I wonder if, now that what I don't know, is this the seventh or eighth time we've hit 100K? I wonder if, even though it's just a number, if psychologically this is going to send the normies back to us again, because I mean, I continue to get so many inquiries once we hit 100. Like 99, no, but 100, yes. And it happened the last 4 or 5 times, and I'm expecting it again. How about
Yeah,
you guys?
for me that always happens when we get to all-time high. Like as soon as it's all-time high, everybody who hasn't already, taken the orange pill and isn't a Bitcoiner starts to reach out again. And I did, I'll let y'all talk for a little bit. I'm gonna take a break, but I did see an interesting tweet. 'Cause you just mentioned like the number of times we've crossed 100, where it tracked the price of ETH each time that like we've crossed 100. And it was like the first time we did it, it was like 3,900. And now y'all know what the price of ETH is right now. So I sent that to like my friend group, and I was like, y'all look at
Yeah, it was
this.
like 3.8K, 3.5, 3.4, 3.3, and then the fifth time is 1.8. It's
Yeah, it's just
beautiful.
it
It's
was an
beautiful.
incredible tweet. Whoever thought like to do that, and like I have like a couple of friends who have gotten into ETH over the years, and I was just like, yeah, this is why you don't buy that trash.
Well, it is interesting to think about that. Like the first time we hit 100, we skipped past the 80s and the 90s and we just like jammed right up there. And it's like, psychologically, does the market need to spend time in each zones for a while so that people properly are selling and buying, based on what they think Bitcoin is? Because that's kind of what happened. In hindsight, we just kind of went back to those levels that we jumped over, now spent proper times there, and now moving up. I mean, maybe that means nothing. I don't follow charts at all, but I just found that interesting. That I think I saw a tweet somewhere where someone said, "Hey, we skipped past 80 and 90. Like we have to spend time there before we can continue moving on, like we did with 58K for
We
7 years."
certainly did our time at 84,000. So I think we don't ever have to see the 80s again in my book.
Beagle, can you please not jinx us?
Yeah,
What
I
are we
think
talking
we're
about the
going
Yeah,
there.
price
yeah.
for?
I'm gonna go ahead and
You're gonna
stop
inverse
talking.
gladiator us, yeah.
Let's
Yeah,
hear
why?
from Bob.
Bob, yeah, please. Why are we talking about Bitcoin price? It's hard for me not to, but it's kind of ridiculous at the same time.
Yeah, it really got me thinking about how I enjoy the fact I can spend Bitcoin anywhere without anybody's permission. And so, yeah, we can transition away from price a little bit. Not that that's all interesting. I think everybody in the room knows they can do that. But if you're not, maybe just a little PSA, if you're not self-custodying, you should probably consider figuring out how to do that. I think Terrence helps people with that. I help people with that. I think just about anybody up here would help you with that. But yeah, let's not forget what this means. This asset, if you want to look at it as an investment, that's great. But for a lot of us, if you've ever been told no or had to deal with a bank wire, you probably would enjoy Bitcoin a lot more for sending value without anybody's permission.
Yes, Bob. Hey, Bob and AC are both heavily involved. I think Bob is, one of the primary forces behind the Bitcoin veterans space, which I would encourage people to go check out. Bob, did you want to just give the basic deets on that?
It's just for old people?
Yeah,
Hey, 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 easy, easy, Terrence.
actually, yeah, it's Bitcoin veterans and friends. We, I kind of started helping out with the spaces in the morning. Oh, probably 80, 90 episodes ago, and now the main host is taking a little break, and so I'm kind of the main guy right now, trying to keep it going with these spaces. You got to have consistency. But a little history on Bitcoin veterans organization that started up with a group of veterans, I believe in 2023, and has its own separate X handle. So you can follow that. Bitcoin veterans is the handle, and
So,
great
Bob,
organization. Yeah.
what makes a Bitcoin veteran? Like, if you've been in for 2 epochs or 2 cycles, 3 cycles?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think that originally it was for people who were military veterans, but it's kind of expanded into just anybody who's interested. I think there's this certain idea that people who are veterans and are in Bitcoin are to be trusted. And so they provide valuable resources to people who are trying to self custody and learn about Bitcoin, just provide any resources, bunch of signal chats for people with different interests. But there's this whole cohort of veterans out there that also need hope, and Bitcoin can provide that for a lot of people who, have PTSD or other issues. And not saying it's a solution to everybody's problem, but it's good to have a group of guys like that and gals who are into Bitcoin, but also trying to help veterans out and other people out with Bitcoin things. So
Yeah, Bob, when I was a fly on the wall with this space that Terrence used to be involved in, which was the Cafe Bitcoin through Swan. Alex was one of the hosts there. I listened to 95 to 99% of all of those, just as an observer, a listener, taking a lot of info. I remember you guys talking back at that time, and I think that was a lot of the startup of this, because a lot of you folks that had military experience were starting to actually realize all the things you had in common and really gel around that. And I think Alex is also part of your group. So it's kind of been fun to just be a silent observer watching all of this come together and how much good you guys do. I mean, you mentioned some stuff about, even the people on this stage being able to help if somebody is looking for assistance in, you mentioned even more things, like related to actual military service and whatnot, but even simpler things like trying to set up cold storage or run a node or anything. If anybody's interested, I'm sure we can even refer them over to your groups and your space, and the people in there would also be willing to lend a hand.
yeah, it's just where people feel comfortable, right? And I think it's kind of an interesting space, right? We're evolving. People, I think, for the first obviously 10 years at least, didn't really trust each other a lot in the Bitcoin space. Lots of scams, lots of fraud going on, all kinds of things. And now, it's great to see different folks providing services, whether it's commercially or like in Bitcoin veterans, it's more of something that's a service project, right? Helping people do these things safely. So I think whatever your flavor is, don't be afraid to reach out to people. There's some really good people in the space. Obviously, Terrence does some stuff, and I know Tomer's busy, but he's helped a lot of people out with questions and other people. So yeah, I mean, it's we're all one big happy family. Sometimes we argue about stuff, but I think that's what makes people think, and I like that about spaces, that we can get on here and argue with each other, and we're still
Absolutely.
all friends. We're still
For
all friends
sure.
at the end of the day. Yep.
I totally agree with that, Bob. Hey, AC, did you have anything to chime in with? Because I know you're a part of that group as well. You're a veteran, correct? As a military veteran?
Yeah. I'm a military veteran after 21 years in both the Air Force and the Space Force. No, Bob really hit it on the head. It's a community of people who came from different walks of life. And the longer you've served in the military, you might have started to see things that didn't necessarily align with your personal beliefs, especially when you signed up, your entire adult life in defense of this nation or support of this nation. And we talk about in Bitcoin how incentive structures really don't necessarily align at the political level. And so, like Bob said, it was an area of like-minded people to kind of align along something, which is Bitcoin, and provide value to each other. A lot of people who leave the military get really disenfranchised with the government, and again, it's that place where like-minded people can come together. So, fully support the group, enjoy what they're doing, give opportunities for people to learn about Bitcoin, or just kind of find that camaraderie that they lost when they left the military in another group.
Love it. I will just say that one of the last two guys that spoke donated, and I just wanted to take my hats off because I know you guys have your own group and your own thing going on, but just to no, we're all part of the same family is amazing, and he donated to this pleb party we have coming up. So hats off to you for that, and also at least one of you guys is also coming. So I look forward to meeting you there as well. Now, Pubby popped in here for a second. He's not invited because I think he personally single-handedly might just kill our entire drink budget. So sorry, Pubs. Puncher, how are you, buddy?
I am great. I got on late, but nice to hear what you guys are doing, Bob and AC. And I'm a 25-year military veteran of the Navy and Air Force. AC, funny to hear somebody who went, went both ways, so to speak. Um, and yeah, I'd love to hear more. And I think I see your spaces every morning, so maybe I'll chime in. And can't wait to hear what you guys got to
Yeah.
say.
No, and regardless of what you hear Terrence say, Lauren B does not go both ways. So, Terrence, did you want to pivot us here?
Well, I was just going to say you can go to Bitcoin Veterans even if you weren't in the military. Just as long as you've watched Tropic Thunder, you kind of get an idea of how it works. So that's why I
Yeah,
join every now and then.
they graciously invited me on as a guest on one of the spaces, which I thoroughly enjoyed. I still ponder what I really have to say of value at times where,
That's what most of the people are thinking
yeah,
right
no,
now.
absolutely. I'm here for comedic value only, so
Just
I hope you.
watch the movie Hot Shots from the '90s, and you'll qualify to get in there.
Well,
Get
it
in
sounds
that.
like maybe as long as you do a two
Yeah,
for three of some of
Charlie
these
Sheen.
movies, you're in. Yeah. What about Top Gun? Does that qualify?
Fun fact, by the way. So Charlie Sheen, Rob Lowe,
Ooh,
Tom
I like the
Cruise,
fun facts segment. Go
Sean
ahead.
Penn. Well, no, they've all been in a lot of war movies. And when they were kids, elementary school and going through high school, they were all making and making their own little war videos in Malibu, running around. The four of them. Um, Tom Cruise didn't live there most of the time, but he stayed with the Sheens for a while, and with
Why do
Charlie
I
on.
want to? Why do I envision Terrence running alongside of them with like a VHS recorder, just filming it all? Just
Well, that may have happened. I'm not saying.
Here's another fun fact. Tom Cruise's real name is Tom Napother. He's from Orange, New Jersey. And a buddy that I went through flight school with named Rich Giudice got kicked out of his basement for saying the word shit. Mr. Napother kicked him out of their house. That is the story.
holy shit.
Well, Tony Hawk tried to orange pill Tom Cruise, by the way, not a joke. Tony and a few other skaters went over to Tom's house to talk to him about Bitcoin, and he got confused and he left the guest house where they were all meeting, and he never came back. And Tony has told this story a couple of times, and it's kind of funny.
The
He's
stage
def-
after institutional adoption is Scientology adoption, right? We need
yeah,
that
he's
Scientology money.
he's a
Yes.
different cat.
I
I
met Tony
flew
Hawk in Vegas Club one time. Whoa, whoa! Now we're just getting too carried
when I
away.
another quick story. When I was a midshipman at Villanova, your third year, you go out and you fly. You spend time with all the different submarines, Marines, the aviators, the regular surface fleet, Navy, and I went to the Puking Dogs, which was a F-14 squadron at the time, and they were filming while I was there with the Puking Dogs parts of Top Gun, the original Top Gun, and So I've got a picture playing poker as a midshipman. I guess I was 19 years old with Goose and the other guy who ended up being in Shawshank Redemption. And they were awesome guys. And Val Kilmer was awesome. Tom Cruise was a little bit weird. He didn't really hang out. The guys didn't really dig him. He wasn't like hanging in the staterooms and drinking beers with the guys when they snuck beers in and things like that. So he was on his own program. But
All
He's
right.
odd. He's very, very intense, like super, super focused. Which I assume you guys all imagine. I developed a movie with him for years. He's really into motocross, which a lot of people don't know, but that's often why you see him riding motorcycles. And my brother-in-law, my sister's husband, is one of the top motocross agents in that world. So when he wanted to make a motocross movie, he had reached out to him, and I just got lucky in the right time, right place, and I got partnered with him on that Paramount movie. But it never went anywhere, as a lot of movies don't. But it was interesting seeing how he works and operates, and almost robotic. I mean, I'm not sure I liked it, but I was kind of in awe of how he thought.
he was
Anyway.
very intense. And I'll stop because we're not here to talk about Tom Cruise, Tom Napother.
Yes, we are.
He would sit down and like stare into one of the top the F-14 pilot's eyes and just say, "Tell me what it is you're thinking when X happens," and like real like intense. And they just kind of got a little weirded out at that, and they'd rather hang out and drink with Goose and whatever the other guy's name was, Val Kilmer.
R.I.P. Val Kilmer. Okay, now this is the tough transition. How do we pivot back to Bitcoin?
You
Cosmo,
just
Terrence, anybody?
say the word Bitcoin, and let's say hi to Matt, because Matt doesn't usually get to join us. He's over at the nuclear plant with Homer Simpson.
Yeah, I'm actually going to get lunch with Homer here in a little bit, so it's pretty cool. You guys are all talking about your celebrity connections,
Oh,
and that's mine.
Well, we were talking about Bitcoin veterans, and yeah, it was a bad joke of mine that went down the wrong pathway. But let's bring it back to Bitcoin.
Bring it back to Bitcoin.
Well, I
No,
mean,
let's bring it back
obviously,
to.
we can't bring it back to Bitcoin without talking about being back in six figures, right? So I'm sure you guys probably already did that, but I wasn't here for it, so I'm going to do it again because why not? So,
Hey,
I'm
Matt,
over. This is our
if you
10th
watched,
100K party, by the way. I've
yeah,
had 10
yeah,
100K parties.
100K parties, baby. Terrence has been keeping the title of today's space up to date, almost to the minute, on the actual running Bitcoin price, which he now has at 1017.
We're at
Holy
107. That's about a thousand over.
Oh gosh.
Yeah,
Can you change it,
It's
Cam?
crashing, guys. It's crashing.
it's
It's
This is
crashing. We're
tanking.
still above 100K, but it's
yeah.
crashing.
Trade your Bitcoin for dirty fiat, everybody. It's crashing.
so we're back at the it's all over part of this episode today. Is that where we're at? We've gone from it's on to it's over.
Yep, that's where
I'm
we're
Get the
at.
converting
get the
everything
calls.
to XRP.
Yeah, get the calls for 58K again.
58K has been thoroughly buried. I do not want to hear that stated publicly anymore. 58K gang is gone. They're just that's part of history now.
580K gang is
Yeah.
next.
Hey, look, I'm okay with that. We can let 580K gang out of the box now. We can start moving in that direction.
No, but to be real about the price, I mean, here's the thing: is on just about every time frame, everything looks good. The RSI is strong, MACD is strong. I think there's one time frame on the daily candle that looks a little weak, but we're in a good spot, guys. Like I think barring some sort of epic catastrophic fiscal thing or, Trump deciding he wants even I don't know. I mean, the tariffs didn't affect it as much as it affected the rest of the market. So I don't know. We're in a good spot. Bud Puncher.
Puncher. Yeah.
Here's the guaranteed way to rug pull the fiat dollar price of Bitcoin. Take the total amount of Bitcoin you own, times it by the current high price, get that number, and then you get rugged immediately.
You don't have a spreadsheet where you keep all that up to date and look at it just about every week.
Nah, I do the math in
Um,
real time.
Me neither. I don't do that for sure. I don't do that.
Good morning, Humble. Good to see you.
Good morning. I came up when you guys were talking about the veterans, but that's like, I don't know, 5 to 10 minutes ago.
No,
So
you can feel free to chime in because we plan on pivoting to Bitcoin at some point. So
I can just say Bitcoin like 3 times and we can shift over to that if you'd
Bitcoin,
like.
Bitcoin, Bitcoin.
Oh, there we go. It worked. Let's talk about it. No, I just wanted to say the Bitcoin veterans, they're a great group of guys. Very, very welcoming, just very caring, very informative. My husband, my God. Well, my
Your
daughter
boyfriend.
just,
Don't tell your
yeah,
husband. Yeah.
yeah,
Your
no.
side piece, humble. It's okay.
Oh
That's
boy,
the,
which one
yeah.
should I talk about now? Um, my daughter just graduated from Navy boot camp, and then my son is in the Navy. So my son was hanging out with them last year, so that was quite cool at the Bitcoin conference. So yeah, that's all. I was just going to add that. Nothing special aside from that.
I'll chime in. I think I'm looking at the daily chart right now too, and it looks like both of them flipped bullish as well. So cancel my last statement.
I'd say what you said was pretty special, humble. So yeah, that's super cool.
Yes, yes.
No.
Hey, does anyone have a good summary of how the strategy conference has been going? Any TLDR on that?
If I can, I think a lot of
Please.
people I'm obviously not there, but I think a lot of people think of that from a retail investor perspective. And what I've seen and noticed amongst all of the good talks, what I've seen when I watch the replays, when they pan to the audience, it's pretty cool to see all of these old heads. And if you're an old head, I'm saying this respectfully, but it's a lot of corporate finance people. And so I think it's really cool to see people trying to follow the lead of what strategy is doing. I think that this is part of the financial renaissance that we're going to have. And yeah, these people are paying attention. They're taking notes and they're trying to figure out how to convince their companies to employ the same tactics and follow the same playbook. So I think, aside from how excited I am about strategy and what they're doing, I think it's cool that they're also proselytizing this and that there's a lot of folks that you probably wouldn't expect that are in the audience being very well paying attention. Let's say it that way.
Love it. Now, Bob has just inspired me to dye my hair so that I don't get included in the old heads part of things. Puncher.
Yeah, for those who haven't listened to Saylor's keynote, it's, I mean, it's almost amazing. He was standing in front of essentially the C-suites of lots of Fortune 500 and select outstanding companies. And basically, in a nice roundabout
Can we
way,
get
to tell,
just to interrupt you for a second, Puncher?
yeah.
Can we get someone to share that into the nest
Oh,
so that
yeah.
people can watch it? I tried watching it. I accidentally lost halfway through, and then I haven't been able to find it since.
Jethro
So
Bodine has it.
now that you bring it up,
George Bodine has it on his. I'll get it up there, Tomer. But he essentially said,
thanks.
in a nice enough way, you're all idiots and cowards, which I found amazing. And they actually clapped at the end and they ate it up. I mean, he detailed everything he went through with Microsoft, and then I mean, just dead on, like no debate about it. The math, here's the math, and Microsoft decided not to do it. And he just basically made fun of them all and said, "You're crazy if you don't do this." And the only thing he made a mention, he said, "You could get, there's genius in the world, but less abundant than genius is courage, and courage is in very short supply in corporate America." And 10,000 geniuses, all they'll figure out is ways why not to do it, why not to incorporate Bitcoin into your balance sheet, and they're all wrong. So I just found it fascinating how he was able to tell them they're all stupid without really telling them they're stupid.
I think Puncher just called me a genius because that's how my mind works too. It always is telling me every reason I should not do something instead of just pulling the trigger on doing something. So I appreciate that. So,
No. Hold on. I got to
uh-huh.
correct this. He
Yeah.
called you a courageous idiot.
Oh, darn it, man. The last two speakers, I'm going to dye my hair and I'm a courageous idiot. Now I
Well,
feel
you also
really
look at like MetaPlanet,
the
right?
mirror.
Like MicroStrategy is no longer the singularity, and it's like MetaPlanet was this Japanese public company that was near bankruptcy, and they adopted the exact same strategy as Saylor, and now I forget his name, but the CEO of MetaPlanet is saying that he's being inundated with other public companies that all want to
Hey,
get.
Terrence, do you know the backstory behind the company? Do you know what they did or whatever before they became basically just a
I want to
Bitcoin.
say they were a wait, someone correct me. Was it a gaming
It's
company or
hotels,
something?
right? Right.
Yeah, it was an old
Hotels,
crappy.
yes.
Yeah, like they were
Oh
ready to
yeah.
just go bye bye. And yeah, Dylan was talking about it on a space the other day, and I didn't even know the backstory, but it was super interesting because they just completely turned something around that was going to die basically, and it was an old hotel company.
Well, it also
Insane.
brings up a philosophical question. Like, as Bitcoiners, we believe in the fiat world, companies, zombie companies, companies that aren't providing value, that aren't as most efficient, should fail, right? We want proper market signals for an economy. But then again, they're pivoting and getting Bitcoin. And if that's all they're doing is getting Bitcoin, I mean, I guess they're providing rails and access for, people that need
Terrence,
those.
there's
Yeah, at that
so
point they're not a failing fiat company anymore,
Well,
right? The
that's what I
fiat company
mean. It's
inside of the
Cosmo, it's
organization has
my job to
failed.
talk over Terrence.
Yeah,
Well,
Lauren's job is that was
Please
really
well,
weird of you,
you
excuse me.
let
Cosmo.
Terrence go on
Play
No,
way
your
too
what the
role.
hell?
long, and so I had to step
Thank
in and
you.
make sure
Okay, I
somebody
know.
interrupted
I was
Terrence.
not doing my job. No, I
All
was
right,
just going
let's
to
let the
mention.
spiritual philosopher chime in.
No. We'll get to Tomer after me. No, I'm sorry. No, I was just going to chime in that Strive had also made. There's been so many announcements lately. It's just kind of mind-boggling. Like even if 1 out of 10 of these, gain some traction or actually pulls whatever. A lot of these states, some of these are more hype than anything. But Strive announcing that it plans on spending X amount on gaining some sort of
That's
Bitcoin
the
cert as well.
Vivek
So yeah,
Ramaswamy.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And also it also sounds like maybe they're gonna throw some money behind some of these entities that are actually out trying to promote Bitcoin, which seems pretty exciting as well.
Well, and
Uh,
now David Bailey's starting a company too.
yeah,
Yeah.
companies. Anyway, there's so many things happening almost daily. So it's almost be like a cool idea if somebody had a space that just talked about Bitcoin today happenings or something, because it's just crazy. Like there's two, three,
I'll write
four
that down. I'm gonna
big
start that.
breaking, yeah,
I'm gonna take that idea and
announcements on the
run with it.
daily. It's super
I'd
exciting.
like to
Anyway,
turn the channel to the Tomer
sorry,
channel.
Tomer. Yeah, Tomer.
I'm gonna continue to talk about the MicroStrategy thing or the strategy thing, and it's good that Puncher has his hand up because he's listened to the. I've only listened to about half of the Sailor talk that is now shared in the Nest. I don't know exactly because I was listening to it on headphones and then my phone crashed out, so I didn't know how far I was into it. But it sounded to me like he was saying, first of all, there's a big problem in capital markets, which is there's only 7 companies, basically the Magnificent Seven, and their success competitively comes at the expense of the success of all others. Like because Apple is so successful in consumer electronics, that means 20,000 other consumer electronics companies have disappeared. You just don't see them anymore. Can't buy calculators and handheld devices and computers and stuff from so many other companies. Because of Google's success, all the media companies are failing. Because of Microsoft's success, I can't remember the exact example he used in their case, but he's just basically saying, like there's been tremendous failure, and certainly we saw it happen in big box retailing. All the mom and pop retailers are gone at the expense of Walmart's success, which he then says, okay, well, you can create success for your company if you take the cash flow that it's got and put it in Bitcoin instead of buying back your shares and being repellent to capital, which he also points out the Magnificent Seven are. The Magnificent Seven buy back their shares with their capital or just to keep it sitting on their balance sheet. So he says they're repellent to capital. They don't need to raise capital. They don't attract it. Strategy does, which is all perfectly valid, right? There's no argument there. But Bitcoin is a solution to fixing, well, maybe he doesn't get around to saying how this fixes the problem for everybody else. Like you're still confronted with the competitive moat that Apple and Microsoft and Meta and others have built, and Microsoft, right? So we're still not yet, as far as I understand, being able to use Bitcoin to get anywhere out of that muck that we're in. And I wonder if he does address that, or if he's simply saying, you know what, save yourself from the walls that are closing in on you with Bitcoin. Does he get to that, Puncher, or is that for us to figure
He
it?
does.
Because maybe the last point I'll make before you speak is like, if you're running one of these companies, it's not necessarily that you're a coward that you're not moving into Bitcoin. It's like you haven't spent a lot of time because you're busy trying to run a company that's in a nearly impossible competitive position. Your competitors are Walmart, Microsoft, Apple, and or Meta and others. So like, what do you do? Okay, I'll leave it at that.
Well, you're gonna thoroughly enjoy the second half because he goes into it much deeper. Essentially, what I think he's saying, underlying, is if you're not one of the fabulous seven or whatever they call them, you're dead. They've
Magnificent.
monopolized.
I like
Yeah,
fabulous. It's kind of
Fast and fabulous.
Fabulous. But he so and your ability to beat the rate of debasement of the currency, which is what you're standing on as a dollar based company. The whole world runs on the dollar. If you can't beat that debasement, you're dead. You just don't know it yet. You're going to die fast or die slow, but you're on the path. You're on the road to perdition. So I think what he's saying is, look, adopt the Bitcoin strategy, acquire with whatever revenue you generate, whatever profit you generate, acquire the pristine collateral, and that is like a canoe to the other side. What you end up being ultimately on the other side in a Bitcoin world is not going to be the same company you were in the fiat world, but at least you're going to survive. And just like everybody says about strategy now, I don't know what they're going to be when they grow up. Right now, they're in the accumulation of energy phase, and they can be whatever they want to be. The same thing applies to all these other zombie companies who are competing against the Microsofts, Amazons, Apples of the world, and with no way to win ever. And they are decapitalizing their companies by giving away the capital that they do acquire through dividends and stock buybacks, which are bad deals. And he goes into that. Just accumulate Bitcoin, get on the raft, float to the other side. You will survive, and you can be whatever you want to be in the new world, but you have to do it.
Well, you look at all these businesses that sort of have these broken business models, and you look at GameStop, you look at Barnes and Noble, Dick's Sporting Goods, Nokia, BlackBerry, Bed Bath and Beyond. It's like it makes sense because Bitcoin can keep them alive because they have a lot of cash, but the brick and mortar business that they originally were set up for is essentially dead.
Well, and to that point too, Terrence, I think that there needs to be a pivot, right? So if these are broken zombie companies and they adopt Bitcoin, that's not going to make their business model profitable, right? So they're not all of a sudden going to have a good foundational business. And that's why I think that, we see a lot of these companies moving to a Bitcoin standard. Those will not be the companies they were before, right? What's going to make them valuable is just the Bitcoin that they hold. So I think to your point earlier when you're talking about like, is this really within the Bitcoin ethos of trying to save these zombie companies? I don't think Bitcoin will save the zombie companies. It will transform them, right? But it won't like save the underlying failing business model.
I mean,
Yeah, same with
MicroStrategy
individuals.
itself is a zombie company, like their core business, if outside of the Bitcoin strategy. So that's the best possible example. And it's getting worse and worse every single year, but the business itself as a whole is performing better and better.
Yeah, he talks about how Microsoft, as a monopoly, just is forced to take advantage of its customers. You have to own it. You can't escape that paradigm. Everything runs on Microsoft, and every 3 years they can raise the price or lower the price, which they never do, and you're forced to buy it because you have to. And that's no way to treat your customers, right? That's horrible. And when you go to Jeff Booth says, the marginal cost of production when you go digital drives to zero. So I guess the whole premise that I took from his just masterclass of a speech was get on the moat, get to the safety island, and figure out what you want to be in the future, or you are dead.
Here, here. Did you know you can actually run your own strategic Bitcoin reserve? Oh my gosh. Pink shirt guy. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, people. Great conversation. Saylor really makes the point too, and makes the distinction between a failing business model and a model that's actually working, but it's the toxicity of the fiat currency that's dragging it below what would be profitable. So, Puncher made a great point about having to capitalize on your customer base as a way to sort of offset that. And the point that he makes is about all you're doing is just slowing your rate of decay. You're just slowing your rate of death and you're actually like fiat currency does, is it incentivizes you to capitalize and take advantage of people, and it forces you into situations where you're acting on incentives that aren't aligned with your customer base. And so you can have a good business model, but it's the metastasization of your toxic capital on your balance sheet that causes problems for you, even if you do have a good model.
Yeah.
I may be biased, but I love it when that guy speaks. Please come up here more often, pink shirt guy. Plus, we're kind of homies from childhood, so that helps.
I think it's more
Cosmo, sorry.
Yeah, I just wanted a quick comment
Yeah,
on
I
that.
know.
Yeah, Puncher brought this up in a couple spaces before, but I think that's the core of the difference between growth and productivity, right? The fiat system is prioritizing growth, or yeah, growth over productivity, and that's the core issue that I feel like that pink shirt guy's getting at. Let's go to Tomer.
Mr. Strawlight.
Sorry. Yeah, it just took me a second to get to the microphone button. I'm thinking out loud here because again, I still haven't listened myself to the last half of this, but I think part of this comes down to what future, and consistently what future people who hold Bitcoin decide they want to to give their business to. And it's the we've gotten into this, and anyone who's old enough to have experienced the decline of retailers, the decline of of vendor choices, all of these trends towards monopolization that we've seen, knows that we lost something in that choice. We may have an Apple product. I'm speaking to you all on an Apple product, and it's an incredible product. But the lack of variety and choice that we now experience in consumer goods, retail options, manufactured products, is is really it, to me at least, it's pretty disappointing. I thought it was a more interesting world when there was a lot more variety, even if the quality was not as good. And certainly in a lot of things we've lost a lot of quality as the monopolies have taken over and used it to abuse us. And so at some point this question comes up of what you choose to spend your really hard-earned and un, unprintable capital on. Like, I think we will have a lot more economic power as consumers using Bitcoin than we did using the dollar, because the dollar got gamed and printed into oblivion and directed it. The winners picked not by the consumers, but the winners picked by regulators and money printers and things of that nature to some degree, and also by our naivete and desire to have ever cheaper goods from fewer and fewer vendors. So it's almost like we get to play the game again, and maybe we get to play it over and over and over again. But will we make better choices? Do we make better choices? And I'm kind of encouraged at the early stage of what I see in the Bitcoin sphere, where people are prepared to pay more or pay different vendors for things of more discerning value, like healthier foods and different approaches to healthcare. So I guess there's a bit of a wait and see here, but also an important, not just wait and see, but know that it's going to be a collective vote of people voting with their satoshis rather than voting with their dollars, but that they need to be consistent in their vote, because if they misapply their capital, the capital will flow not to the Bitcoin accumulating companies who recognize its value, but to the Magnificent Seven once again. And maybe that's where this window of opportunity opens up. I'm speaking quite abstractly. I don't know exactly what I'm speaking of here, but I'm seeing a couple of thumbs up and stuff. So
Yeah, I mean,
maybe it's resonating
yeah,
as well.
that all rings true, and I agree. I don't know exactly where it goes, but everything you're saying, like my intuition tells me is true. We got my buddy Mitch up here. We don't see him a lot on stage. I want to see if he's got anything to chime in on this about.
Yeah, thanks, Cosmo. And I think the last few times I've joined the spaces, it was yelling match to a conversation. It's a lot more refreshing. But I got a question for the group. Kind of, anybody can take this. The common denominator with a lot of these Bitcoin treasury companies seems to be that they are failing businesses. They need to pivot. So it kind of begs the question: when will you see a Mag 7 adopt a Bitcoin treasury strategy? Because
Hey,
they don't really.
before we get to that question, were you talking about this space or just a space in general?
This space. I think the last time I was in here was a
What?
Joe
No, 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 no,
Carlazari.
Mitch. You got to be talking
Uh,
about a different
No,
space,
it
sir.
was
I
the
must.
We.
space. Mitchell and I chatted.
Oh
He came
no.
in and I was like, "Oh,
Oh
it was one of our
no.
worst ones."
Oh,
It
you
was
got to be
it
Yeah,
was
kidding.
Dark
Sorry,
Side and
Mitch.
Joe, I
Oh
think, going
no.
at it. But that's
Anyway, sorry, I
okay.
didn't mean to sidetrack us. Go ahead.
No, yeah, I enjoy this space. I feel like actually I've met pretty much everyone on stage in person at least once, I think. So yeah. Anyways, which Mag 7 would it be, right? Because a lot of them, if you run a digital monopoly, your business is outperforming the S&P, it's outperforming your stock rather is outperforming the S&P. You're growing, whatever 15-20% a year. If you're an Nvidia, an Amazon, a Google, like do you need to adopt Bitcoin? Like obviously I think we all agree that they should, but I feel like that may take a little bit longer, a couple years down the road.
I actually want to jump in on that. My out there guess, my thought is maybe Google would be the first one. I think Google obsoletizes quicker than anybody else on there because of ChatGPT. Like, who goes and Google something and takes all of the effort to try to find your information when you can have a large language model do it for you? So maybe they're the first that are like, "Oh, we're toast. We gotta save ourselves."
Well, they run the game
And the thing
with
sucks.
Gmail and the whole G Suite setup, right? Google Drive, Google Meets,
Yeah,
whatever,
good
plus
point.
YouTube.
Go ahead, Matt.
Oh, I just said, and the Google AI thing sucks. Like the recommendations it makes are terrible. So
Horrible.
they clearly don't have any grounds to stand on with that portion of their business. So I don't know. I kind of like the idea that the Mag Seven end up being the last to buy Bitcoin because they're the most privileged by the existing fiat system. Therefore, I think they should be the last to get it. In a just world, that is what would happen. So I hope that they hold off on buying for as long as possible and let the micro strategies of the world that are smaller companies, and even the what I think would be even better is you have the mom and pop shops that end up having just a little bit of profit at the end of every month, and they're rolling that into Bitcoin, and it actually allows them to survive things like, God forbid we have another COVID type event where they're trying to shut down small businesses, because that was just so devastating to anybody who had a Main Street store. And if they didn't have basically a war chest to sit on and weather those storms, then they were just screwed. So I'd love to see a lot more small and medium sized companies adopt it well ahead of the Mag 7, even though obviously it'd be cool headlines. And I'm sure just like when Elon bought it with Tesla, it would pump bags for a bit, but that's not really why I'm here. I would love to see, like Tomer said, a lot more competition in markets because there's the ability for more companies to actually survive temporary downturns.
A bottom up movement. Don't say anything, Lauren. Let's go to pink shirt.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Yeah, I
Dad.
think it's still an important distinction to make between a failing company and one that is intellectually honest about what their hurdle rate is. If you look at where MicroStrategy was in 2020, they had $500 million on the balance sheet, and for them to dividend that out to shareholders was basically an admission that they had no more good ideas. They didn't know how to deploy that capital to move MSTR forward. And so, from that perspective, the Mag 7 or any of those companies don't necessarily have to be failing. Although I think AI, goes a long way towards making them obsolete or more obsolete. But more widely, when do they get to the place where deploying more and more capital into their existing systems gives them diminishing returns to where they're better off just to park that into Bitcoin and collect the whatever we think the CAGR is, 30%, 40, 50%. Sailor's base case is 29% in the next, I don't know what it is, 20 years or so. We're kind of in that situation in our company now. We grow 42% per year, and it's kind of right on the knife edge to say, like, should we expand and hire a bunch more people and scale out and do some more M&A activities, or should we just use our resources to just go put more Bitcoin on the balance sheet?
B.
Nikolai.
I vote B. Go ahead, Nicola.
Hey guys, good morning. You know, I my most recent tweet is this website that ranks assets by market cap, and I love this website. It's like eye candy to me, and I watch Bitcoin over the years ascend this list. And gold's at the top at 22 trillion, 22.25 trillion, and then there's this group of Mag 7 or subgroup: Microsoft, Apple, and Nvidia, and they're 2.8 to 3.2 in market cap. And then there's Amazon, and we're like breathing down the neck of Amazon. Bitcoin's number 6 at 2 trillion, and it's just it's somewhat related to this discussion about I guess the Mag 7, because they're to channel Sailor, because their business model is so good and their products are so good, and they have hegemonic domination of their market sector. Maybe they need Bitcoin less, but it's going to be fascinating. I guess around 150, 160K, we're gonna be right. We would leapfrog, Microsoft and be right behind gold, or not right behind gold, but behind gold at number 2. So I love looking at price, and I do, but I also love to look at relative market cap relative to the big assets.
Yeah, we had last passed Meta, and before that we passed silver. So we're climbing right up to the top, Nikolai.
Yeah, it's like the ascent of nations there.
T Swizzle.
Hey, apparently we've got Pope smoke. So for all you Catholics out there.
That went over my head.
T Swizzle, quit blowing Pope smoke up our ass, and
They
let's talk
just
about Bitcoin. I'm kidding.
Trump said to buy stocks, so he's wrong. Buy Bitcoin.
Was it orange smoke?
Ooh, I like that.
Wait, did he tweet that on his Truth Social? Did he truth that? Is that what you're saying?
He just did
It's huge.
he just did that announcement live on Twitter with the Prime Minister of the UK, because they just did a settled on a trade deal, and he said during that that Americans should go out and buy stocks because we're going to be on a rocket ship, and there's a lot coming down the pipeline.
Well, at least it wasn't Jim Cramer who said that, so we're still safe.
Does anybody else find it interesting that the dollar is rallying alongside Bitcoin?
It's because of the trade. It's because of the trade announcement.
The Canadians love it. The more our dollar goes down, the more our U.S. denominated securities and Bitcoin holdings go up in value. So,
Hey, pink shirt guy, what is up with the $40 billion? It seemed kind of like a shady fly-by-night thing that obviously nobody gets to vote on or whatnot, but the Canadian government, I read it and I had to run it through an AI, like Cosmo was talking about earlier, and then just verify different sources to really see that it was legitimate. But it almost seems like Canada may be starting to fire that money printer back up. Thoughts?
you know what? I just glanced at it, and given the choice of what to give my attention to, I watched the Trump speech live announcing the trade deal with the UK instead, because honestly, if the Canadian government says it's going to print like $40 billion, it's just another Tuesday up here. So I don't care. I expect it. It doesn't seem to move markets very much, so I definitely keep my attention more stateside.
Hey, Mitch, if you're still here, is there anything that you can share with us with what's going on right now with mining and the movement and the hash rates and the current narratives? You're always great at updating us on those things.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Hash price hit 5 cent per terahash after the recent negative difficulty adjustment, which is good to see. I mean, it's been pretty consistent. Hash prices just stay between this 4 to 5 cent range. Um, I've realized recently, like, the public miners get a lot of hate, but I think what people don't really understand about the public miners is most of them are not really a leveraged Bitcoin play, despite the name. They're just infrastructure and energy businesses. A lot of them, like with few exceptions, you've got some of the pure play arms like Hut 8's new American Bitcoin. Like, that's a pure play on Bitcoin, so that may be that might have some Bitcoin beta, but you're not going to see that with a lot of the public miners. So I don't know. I think miners are just looking for it's a Bitcoin play for some of them, and then for others it's just a generic kind of cash flow, recurring, low growth business with taking the energy spreads and some of the miner stocks did well last year with the AI hype, but I don't think the AI hype train is really going to affect markets as much going forward as it did last year.
I see Home Depot's making you wear ties now, Mitch.
It's true. I'm a huge fan of the orange tie look. I think Bitcoin needs to move past the hoodie and the sweatpants era and start acting like the New York Yankees, right? They don't let you have facial hair and you have to, get a nice haircut. I think Bitcoin needs to do the same. Let's be presentable, dress like winners. You never see Donald Trump out in public unless he's on the golf course. He's always in his uniform, right? He's got his suit and tie. I think Bitcoiners should take the same pride in their
So are
appearance.
you saying we got to wear pinstripes like the Yankees?
No, but the same aura, right? That clean professional look. You don't want to be
I think what
looking
you're
shaggy
looking
out
for, Mitchell, is the BYU honor code. So go check that out and tell me if that's what you think we should all be following.
I just want
there.
to
The
break
only
attention for a second and speak on Lauren's behalf. He will not be caught dead wearing pants. You will not get him into pants. He's not going to say that on the space because he doesn't want to feel uncomfortable, but you're not going to see him put pants on.
Just a skirt.
That wasn't a smooth transition, but Pink Shirt Guy just won a free drink in Las Vegas because we were trying to figure out which one of us could mention not wearing pants in this conversation. Although, like I said, I'm not happy with the transition. Kudos to you, sir, and a free drink in Vegas is coming your way.
Wait,
I
let's
forced
throw the
it.
sign up in the nest. Again, I don't think it's up there right
I
now.
said, Lauren, free drinks just for the ladies.
If there's a free drink involved, I will identify as a lady.
Pink Shirt Girl is here also, and
There
she
she
is a
is.
lady.
Hey, hey, hey.
I've never been to Vegas.
Dude looks like a lady.
This
Go
is
ahead,
my first
Bench.
time. Does anybody got some Vegas pointers? I'm not really.
Yeah, come to our party.
Yeah.
Did you sign up for our party yet, sir?
I have not yet. I tend to be one of the day of, what's the move type of guys.
Hey,
Well, then you'll miss out on our party.
I
You
go
need to sign up and get on the list to get in there, buddy.
I go to Vegas
The
all the
link is in
time,
the
Mitchell.
nest.
So go to the Bellagio and get some sushi samba. Get the wagyu. It comes out on like 900-degree rocks. I think it's like $60 an ounce, but it's well worth it.
I'm the guy that goes to Vegas and then goes outside into the parks and looks for lizards. That's what I do down there.
We call
Mitch,
that an autist, Cosmo.
for your
Yeah, that
fan
sounds about
club,
right.
Mitch, what parties are you going to so they can follow you?
Blockware's having a party one night. I'm not sure which night that is.
Oh, let me see my check. Oh, wait, I didn't get an email yet.
I
Just
don't.
go ahead and shoot me that email
Yeah, I'll
or resend. Yeah.
Hey, Cosmo, go. Dr. Noah Kaufman is also an avid outdoorsman, and he has a couple hikes planned. So you might want to go check with him because they're going to have an actual little shuttle bus and stuff take people out to some of the
Oh,
little
that actually
trails. And
sounds fun. Yeah,
yeah, that's
the
right up your
last two
alley.
times I went down to Vegas, it's kind of what I did down there.
And when I go to Vegas, I usually get frozen on a poker table for hours on end. So it's just about what you want to do in Vegas more than.
Well, wait, we cut Mitch off. He talked
Sorry,
about
Mitch. Go
the
ahead, Mitch.
Blockware party. Yeah, I want to know what else he's doing.
I don't know, dude. I go with the flow. Last year, I ran into Tucker Carlson and Don Jr. by just being myself. So, and Ben Askren, a couple other people. So you never know what can happen at these things. Just
And you did an interview with Ro Khanna. I remember we were
I did.
there in your
Yeah,
green room with you. Yeah.
that's right. Cool dude. Obviously I'm pretty right wing, but I really got along with him. I think he's an intelligent guy. It would be very very nice if more Democrats were like him.
So I'll be hanging around with Mitch, just maybe riding his coattails to maybe hang out with some rich and famous
Yeah,
folks there.
I have
I
a hope.
kid, I joke.
I don't
Sorry,
I
Mitch.
don't expect I don't expect this year to top last year. That was nuts.
I was there with all guys from Angel Studios last year because they're my buddies, and we went to dinner with Sean Ryan. There was just 4 of us there, so we did that last year. That was pretty cool.
Is there gonna be another one of those fight nights? You guys know? Is Nick Carter boxing anybody again? We can see BitBoy get
Yeah,
his face
someone want to
rocked.
fight me? Who wants to fight? Let's
I
do
think
it.
BitBoy's in prison, so that'll be a no go.
Yeah,
Do you get to
speaking of
keep the
Alex
spacesuit on, or
Mashinsky's being sentenced tonight, they're recommending 20 years for the Celsius scam, which he still does not own up to or admit at all. So that'll be interesting to see, as so many people got wiped out during that period. The 2022 CFI scams.
You know, this space has been super weird because it's just been a bunch of bros and ladies, a few ladies, just chit chatting. Oftentimes we have topics and whatnot, so it's just kind of strange.
Usually the host, whoever hosts that day, has like an agenda, and they're able to manage the room,
But you
direct the
called me the
conversations,
hostess
and the
with the
right.
mostest yesterday. Now you're ripping on me? What's up,
Usually
Eric?
nobody talks over each other either.
Never.
That's
Not on this
amazing.
space. Yeah,
Well,
we're
yesterday I
yelling
was
at
the
each other.
host, but I
Sure.
did forget to hit the record button, so that was my bad.
Oh,
Two
I've
in a
terrible.
got
row.
I've got too much I've got too much adrenaline coursing through my veins from this Trump trade announcement and it going over 100K that I just don't care today. I guess. I don't know.
Must be good for India. What about all these announcements and our friend Dennis Porter's announcements of announcements? And then our buddy Justin is often a great critic of these. What are thoughts around some of these things? My
Well,
thing is,
so
yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say I thought Puncher was still here, but he's not. I got confused about the Arizona thing, but I guess there were 3 different strategic Bitcoin reserve bills, and when Katie Hobbs didn't she vetoed the first one, we just all thought Arizona was dead, and then suddenly, like 2 days later, they suddenly have one. But it also looks like it's in a different form. It doesn't say they're going to be buying Bitcoin, but they're going to take their unclaimed property, unclaimed digital assets, and convert that to Bitcoin. So if for whatever reason they're sitting on Ethereum or XRP or someone's gold, they have the right to convert that to Bitcoin. That's my understanding.
Bob.
Airdrops too. Well, no, I think it's
Yeah,
the main
airdrops, they're allowed
reason.
to stake.
Right. The main reason she signed it, she said, was because it's budget neutral, which is everybody's favorite buzzword around Bitcoin. So I think that's really, she's just looking at trying to get reelected. So it's
So she
interesting.
didn't
And
sign the original because she didn't want the state to be buying with their treasuries Bitcoin. But now, since this is budget neutral, Katie Hobbs was able. Okay, got it.
what about the Texas one as well? I didn't dig in, but I heard people talking that it was like you could donate Bitcoin to the state of Texas, etc. So some of these things aren't what they appear, and maybe it's not something that we should all be jumping for joy, but it's still, it's
There's
probably a net
there's two,
positive.
Lauren.
Okay, go ahead.
There's two. One is what you described, and that was, I believe, the House bill. The one that's more interesting, that actually I think is the good news about of the two, is that one that originated in the Senate. That one is where the comptroller can actually put Bitcoin on the balance sheet of Texas. Initially, it sounds like $21 million worth would go that way if this all happens. And um, the news about it was that it went obviously from the Senate and was passed, and then a House committee has now approved that, and it sounds like it has bipartisan support in the House. And then it would go to the governor's desk for signature, and Abbott has said that he would sign it. So I think the better bill is actually closer to getting signed than the one that you were kind of talking about, which is just one where people can donate.
I love it. Hey, one of my co-hosts, I can't remember which one of you guys was talking about the New Hampshire thing and the coincidence of the
Bretton Woods.
yeah, you want to just throw that idea. I thought that was pretty fascinating too. That was you, Terrence, correct?
Well, yeah, I just didn't know if people were talking about it. I just found it interesting that New Hampshire, which is where Bretton Woods is, right, where so much of this sort of malfeasance of the
The
fiat system has
petrodollar,
started.
yeah, origination, yeah.
as well as the American
Sorry to
Revolution.
be
And
talking over you, Terrence. I
yeah,
apologize.
I'm just going to stop talking while you keep you're spam. You're like, this is the problem. You're like, throw that stuff in the op return. I don't need that right here while I'm talking in the main
Dad's getting
block.
his belt off again. Okay, I'll go back to my room.
Anyways, it's interesting that New Hampshire is officially our first state to sign into law a strategic Bitcoin reserve, and now apparently it looks like Arizona is second if we're considering that one a strategic Bitcoin reserve.
Yeah, but New Hampshire's like the libertarian state, right? The libertarian project, live free or die.
Yeah, I think what's interesting is how these are being sold, right? You'd think that these could be used as other blueprints for other states, and the one in New Hampshire was sold as really just a way for New Hampshire and New Hampshireites, if that's the correct vernacular for them, would be that the state could um, protect themselves against inflation and monetary debasement. And then they included other things in there like gold and platinum and silver, in addition to Bitcoin. Whereas the Texas one doesn't really spell that out to that degree. It seems like there's more understanding of what Bitcoin is in Texas. Arizona, it's I would say is the same. They understand it a little bit more. Maybe Katie Hobbs doesn't, but it seems like folks on both sides of the aisle do. So I don't know. We have a lot more educating to do, and I think
Yes.
folks like Dennis Porter's done a good job. Even though we all get
Love him
annoyed
or
with his
hate him,
announcements.
Dennis
Yep.
Porter is a net benefit for Bitcoin. Yeah. No, there's wait till a lot of these entities, governments, people, companies, etc., find out that there's only 21 million Bitcoin.
So, guys,
And guess what?
this is
Yeah.
interesting. I guess this morning, Missouri House passed a bill to exempt Bitcoin from capital gains taxes, at least on the state level.
Wow,
That's
that is
pretty
interesting.
cool.
It is
Congrats to
very
everyone
cool.
who lives in Missouri.
We're all moving to Missouri. Misery.
Well, maybe you could look at it and say you're a sucker for living there in the first place if they were having additional capital gains on top of
Touche,
the
Bob.
federal.
Touche. You had me at you're a sucker for living in Missouri. Anyway, I
Let's go to
apologize.
Teef.
Teef,
Hey, what's up, everybody?
Jeffrey, what's up?
Good to be
Arizona
here.
resident. He can speak to this bill. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. Can you hear me all right?
We
We
hear you
can
much
when
better
Lauren's
now.
not
Whatever
talking.
you. Hey. You said I was
So,
the host today. Come on now. Teef, go ahead.
yeah, there were several bills in the Arizona State Senate. The one that got signed into law yesterday was House Bill 2749. And basically, it establishes a state managed Bitcoin and digital asset reserve fund. And the legislation allows digital assets to be handled by a qualified custodian. Uh, So some of the provisions, though, are for these assets to be actively staked, I guess, to earn additional rewards. I'm not sure what that means exactly. There are still some questions about, like, is this just Bitcoin exclusively, or is this like a broad basket of digital assets? It also sounds like they are using this bill for escheatment purposes. So, like, if someone has an account and they pass away, and after a certain amount of time, nobody does anything with that account, then the state takes it. So, the one that failed though is, I think, SB 1025. That's the one that Katie Hobbs vetoed. And that's the one that would have allowed the state treasurer and retirement systems to invest up to 10% of their funds in virtual currency, primarily Bitcoin, but potentially other digital assets as well. Um, I do have a little inside scoop here because I know personally Arizona State Senate President Warren Peters, and I've been to his house before, eating breakfast burritos with him, talking to him about Bitcoin. And I can say without a doubt, he understands Bitcoin and really appreciates what Bitcoin does for our society, people in general, in terms of getting back to hard money standard. Cool story about him. I have another friend here in Arizona who gave his sister um, some Bitcoin years ago, like in 2013 or 2012, when the price was really low in fiat terms. And Senator Peters didn't even know that until like 2021 when the price of Bitcoin was about 60,000 or so. And his sister announced that at a dinner table, and he about fell out of his chair because he didn't know that his sister knew anything about Bitcoin, and he was kind of learning about it at the time himself. So that's sort of how I got introduced to him through my friend. And I can tell you without a doubt, he is a Bitcoin advocate, a proponent. He understands it. He's not just a grifter trying to, make a name for himself. So I think Arizona has a lot of potential to be a dominant player
Jeff,
in the state.
Is he updating to the new
hey, Terrence,
Bitcoin Core, or is he Bitcoin not?
please don't
Well,
talk
he
over
said
me.
he's a Bitcoiner. I want to know.
That's a good
Well,
question. I should ask him. Like, is he a friend of Peter Todd's or Jason Lopp, or is he more of a which side does he fall on? I'm not really sure. I need to get an update from him.
T, for residents of Arizona, is there anything they can do or pressure they can put on, like, is this thing dead now that she's vetoed it, or is there any recourse at this point?
That's a good question. I don't know. I think we can still put pressure on her. Certainly. I've sent letters to people here in the state that I've written to her, and I'm still putting pressure on her to do that. So I think that I don't know the political process, whether it's dead or not, but I think you can still apply pressure regardless because she is going to be up for election again.
Nice. Go ahead and speak now, Terrence. I'm not trying to talk, so the floor is yours.
No, that was it. I just wanted to know.
So that bill, guys, can't be reintroduced until next session, which is, next January. So these states kind of run a little bit differently, and it can take some time. So
Yeah, who was talking about Texas only, tabling things like every 2 years or
Yeah, I
something?
think
What
Puncher
was?
was saying that yesterday.
That's crazy. I mean, it's good, but this just seems odd. What else is happening in Bitcoin today?
I don't know about you guys, but I think it's hilarious that all of the people getting a hard on for MSTY was at the exact local bottom, and they sold all of the upside almost in
Yeah,
just
Mitch.
Congratulations, Mitchell. I'm pretty sure that's the first time we've heard the word hard on in the Bitcoin Today spaces.
I swear, Lauren, you are a quagmire. You cannot resist. You cannot resist.
When I hear the word
Gig,
hard on,
giggity, giggity, giggity.
giggity. No, it's wow, that was it was a shocker for me,
But
not
but it's
to
your classic
mix euphemisms
it's your
or
classic
anything.
retail kind of FOMO, right? Robert and I, Infra, have talked about this a couple of times. Even if you just look at the volatility, and you'll see when everybody apes into MSTR, like in November, the volatility was an all-time high. It drops down, and we literally at the very, very bottom of volatility, they go out, sell their MSTR and buy MSTY, essentially shorting volatility, and we run up again. It's just, and that's the thing too, is that I got a lot of heat from both sides of this because I get the MSTY proposition. For me, I was just like, well, look at the timing on this is just the interesting part. It's just the timing. And so, yeah, for some reason,
Oh, you summoned dark side.
no, but I agree with a lot what a dark side said, and we talked about this yesterday too. I think there's a time and a place for a lot of these products. It's just an observation on the timing that makes me go, that's interesting, and it's just reaffirming kind of thoughts I have about a lot of retail movement, and when you get a new community that seems to just be everywhere, like at first it was irresponsibly long MSTR, right? They came out in mid-November and everyone aped into these like super long dated calls. And it just ended up really bad for everyone who was legitimately irresponsibly long MicroStrategy. And then we bottom out on the volatility, and here comes the MSTY communities that explode, right? And that's when we start, seeing more volatility again. It's just funny.
I like the Bitcoin community.
Ditto. Yeah, let's go to dark side though.
Hey guys, how you doing? I'm driving through southern Montana, so if I lose you, I'm sorry.
Oh,
But
buddy, it's great to hear your voice. Yeah, I was
yeah,
wondering why you were holding out on us today, so I'm happy you're
yeah,
here.
today's drive day. I'm headed back to Vegas, and then I'll be there through the conference, and then back to Montana. But yeah, what a great conversation when we get into two of my favorite subjects. One, Bretton Woods, I got a hard on to talk about Bretton Woods. Um,
Number two.
yeah, second
You
time.
should host more
Hell
often, Lauren.
yeah.
Yeah, we love to hear these slang terms in here, I'm sure. Earmuffs,
So,
kids. Earmuffs.
so yeah, I was listening to Trump's little press conference, and it kind of dawned on me, man. Like the Ponzi scheme's getting pumped up. They're doing anything they can to keep perpetuating the scheme, you know. And yeah, I was on one of Cade's spaces last night. I kind of went on a rant, but I just envision Bernie Madoff sitting down with a bunch of executives in 2008, 9 months before he blew up his Ponzi, and imagine what they were coming up with, like what schemes, what scams, what kind of creative concepts they were coming up with. And you know, when I get up in the morning and I listen to some of those TradFi spaces, and I imagine like, wow, that must be exactly what they sound like trying to add intellect and all metrics and all the bullshit to what is just a completely broken Ponzi, and completely ignoring the cliff that they're coming up to. And look, the one thing I know for sure, Bitcoin is not ignoring it, right? Bitcoin sees what's coming, and yeah, you know, it's like, wow, what a hot mess they have on their hands. You know, that's all I have to say. What a hot mess. Now, as far as the Misty, um, yeah, like this is why actively managed strategies are better than passively managed strategies, right? Like I've kind of told you guys about, I've been kind of bashing around doing my own version of an actively managed Misty, and you know I came into the day completely unhedged, you know, just balls long and levered long, so having an amazing day. But you know, when you get these momentum moves, there's no reason, you know, you just want to be long the underlying. There's no reason to be hedged, right? There's a time to be hedged, right? This isn't it, right? Like we're catching a run, and I think this run's going to go much further than anybody thinks. But these are not times to be in, you know, these levered products, and that was the point. I mean, that was the point I made on the space that I had on this. Look, Misty is a great product for certain market conditions, but not this one, right? Like maybe in a couple of months it'll work again, but this one is where you just give away all your upside, and it's just frustrating to see, you know, really smart people outthinking themselves on something that's rather simple.
I love it. I am also, quote, balls long on Bitcoin. Hold your own strategic Bitcoin reserve, folks. That's where it's at. That is the game. That is what this is all about. That is the true sovereignty. That is the freedom money, the freedom tech. So, not, you know, I don't want to get into debate of, you know, all the other, because I think it is a net positive for Bitcoin. And you know, as Bob said, the gray-haired folks sitting in there with the TradFi boys that actually hold a lot of the value that is in existence now need some sort of vehicle to come over. So I'm not arguing against all these other products. I'm just saying, hey, you know, hold your own keys. Get your stuff off of exchanges. Let's do this the right way, everybody.
Can we talk about XRP for a minute?
No,
Actually,
please no.
we refrain
Please
from
no.
I'm just kidding. That was a
those.
joke.
Yeah,
That's a joke. It was
Okay,
a
I
joke. It was a
thought there
joke.
was
Chill out.
okay.
Solana.
It is always
Can we
fun
talk about
to look at the
yeah, go
when
ahead,
you take
Mitchell.
a look at the price of all these Dookie coins now versus the last time Bitcoin was 100K. It's like they're just still all down. Like Ethereum, it peaked like
Yes.
3 or 4K, and now it's still under 2K. You know, still down almost 50% peak to trough. Versus Bitcoin is down what 8%, 10% from its all-time high. It's just a continual bleed over years and decades. And I don't know who's holding the bag, but you got to be pretty low IQ to be holding an altcoin bag right now.
Who's holding the bag on the Dookie coin?
Did you
Man,
guys
there's so
see
many terms in here that are amazing.
did you guys
Cosmo.
see the crash out? Just a legendary crash out on video that's been circulating on Twitter right now. This guy talking about ETH, and just saying how everybody holding ETH is retarded, the foundation is retarded, everyone's retarded, and it's just cinema. I'll put it in the nest.
He was almost like the Ethereum version of American Hodl. It actually cracked me up.
Go ahead, OT. That's you.
Are we allowed to say retarded in here now?
Oh
Yes.
man, he's never gonna let me live that one down. You can call yourself retarded. I'll
We use
tell.
the word brain calcification. So just say brain calcification.
I am retarded.
Hey, for clarification, you're not allowed to call Joe retarded, right?
I think we give credit to you for actually running Joe C right out of these rooms, and I'm a little bit sad because I do enjoy the opposite side of a lot of our views because it tests your conviction and it actually helps you to solidify and make sure there's no kinks in your armor or soft spots. So I really miss an argument from the MMT side of things.
I consider retard to be kind of a term of endearment too.
Hey Cosmo, let's not digress back to retard, please. We're 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 moving on to much bigger, better things,
Yeah,
sir
I
and
don't
Seven.
miss having my wisdom teeth removed. But just
Yeah.
just to be clear, man, I did not start that fight. I might have finished it, but I didn't start it.
Well, you know what? Like, I seem to have become collateral damage in that whole battle because Josie, which he's probably listening now, he would shoot me these DMs all the time and say like condescending things like, "You're not really believing this stuff, are you?" Just demeaning stuff, which kind of was contrary to his message, which is like, "Hey, let's just have a conversation." But then it became like, "Wait, these aren't tactics in a regular conversation between two respectful adults. These are like, you're dumber than me, therefore you should listen to me, and I'm smarter than you." And it's like, no, 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 no. Like, let's get into the ring and hash this out like adults and be respectful of one another's points, and then let the audience figure out for themselves what they want to believe. Like, here's all the information. Here's your side. Here's Dark Side's side. And then, hey guys, make up your own minds and do some more research. I was just hoping that it would inspire people to actually go out and not believe headlines and not believe what Joe C says, not necessarily believe what Darkseid says, but actually go get off your ass and go do the hard work and figure stuff out. So, unfortunately, we lost the MMT side of things, and so we're,
You-
Hey,
yeah,
hey,
yeah,
Lauren,
yes,
just if you want to tell us how you really feel,
I won't
Joe
hold
is a
back.
speaker. Joe is a speaker in the Bitcoin magazine space right now, so he's not in here listening. So go
Oh,
ahead and
okay.
just
So just
totally
let him
let
have it,
loose.
huh? Yeah. No,
well,
I
look,
honestly, I have nothing personally against Joe. I'd hang out with him and stuff, but he's seemed to have taken it personally, and he's refrained from coming in here. When he does, he just shows up or goes on and listens in, and then comments later on a feed about how the tinfoil hat guys are, and it's like, hey, we let people express their feelings. I don't buy into 90% of what anyone in here says. I believe little bits and pieces. I'm a little bit eclectic and take nuggets from here and there and come up with my own opinion of things. So hopefully Joe comes back just because I do like the way he is tenacious in arguing. I mean, he's a professional at it. So I kind of miss that part, but there's other parts that I don't miss. I already
Lauren, you're
know.
gonna drive Mitch out of here. He
Sorry,
finally
Mitch.
joined us today because he said he's tired of hearing all the fighting. So
Good
well,
point.
apparently my dinner, my quiet dinner with Mr. Safe and Effective has been canceled. So I'll just have to get over it, I guess.
What are you're not talking about our dinner, are you, buddy?
No, I'm talking about Joe. Yeah,
Oh,
look, the Mr. Safe and Effective calls us tinfoil hat guys, right? Isn't that funny? 15 days
yeah.
to stop the spread, 6 feet. That guy. Yeah,
But are you
gotcha.
still gonna go? Are you still gonna go play basketball with him?
He's going to be the referee. I think, Dark, we lost you there for a second.
No,
You must
I'm
have been
here. I
driving
don't.
to
I
a dead
don't.
spot.
I don't play basketball. I play
see how
No,
hockey.
I.
numb
I'd
see
be
how
happy.
numb we are to Bitcoin's price today. We're so numb, which is good that we're not even talking. You're talking about all this nonsense. Like none of this stuff really
We
matters.
are going to celebrate the price again. I think that
The fiat price doesn't matter.
no, it doesn't matter, but I'm
No,
enthused.
it does.
I'm
It does
excited.
matter. I fade anyone that says
It,
the price doesn't
no,
matter.
it matters. It matters, but it doesn't matter. like until it hits
It
the
doesn't
all-time
matter,
highs
matter.
again.
It
That's
just
when I
matters.
start counting the thousands off again.
Well, no, but it does matter, right? Because I think the levels are important, the TA is important, and I think that if the price just kind of chops around, you need to get like my number one priority is to get my dumb friends and family into this thing, right? And I think a part of that is them looking at the price and going, "Whoa, whoa, what's going on?" And then I get to tell them, "Hey,
Can
this
you
is
do that
going
again?
up.
That sounded really cool. Do the sound effect.
Whoa, whoa, whoa," like that. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, love it.
And for me to be able to tell them, yeah, it's going up because of all this uncertainty, and it's like a more of a certain asset, and then you get to explain a little chunk of what's going on, right? So I don't know. I think that these price run ups are the perfect time to like a good teaching moment because you have their attention, right? We pass 100 again. I got 2 texts since the space started about, "Whoa, did you see the Bitcoin price?" And then you have an opportunity to be like, "Yeah," and then give like a little nugget of Bitcoin truth in there in a response. So,
I
um,
have a Facebook post from this lady that I knew growing up, um, and in 2015 she said, "I'm sure glad I didn't get involved with that Bitcoin scam or something like that." And now every time it does something like this, I go back, search out that post, and I just put like a finger hand emoji pointing up at her post, comment on there, and so that's what I do. So she doesn't respond to my
Hey,
little
just a reminder,
nudges.
everybody, Bitcoin price is not really going up. What's really happening is dollar value is going down, fiat value is going down, right? And when I talk to people about it, and they say, "Wow, did you see Bitcoin price?" I said, "Yeah, man, the dollar's getting killed, fiat's getting killed," right? Like that's just my approach to it, because that's really the truth, right? Like the dollar price is just a reflection of the fiat value versus one Bitcoin. So I stress people, take that approach with people, because if it's just number go up, right, then it could be number go down, right? In reality, what's really happening is uh, confidence in fiat is waning, and it continues to wane. And the more they try to pump the system, the more they get up on that stage and talk about their Ponzi scheme, the better it is for owning Bitcoin.
Hey, Lauren, I just put my email into that Vegas thing, by the way.
Yes, excited to meet you, sir. I'm seriously, the best parts about conferences are just meeting all the plebs and hanging out with everybody, and I'm super stoked to do it. I think that I totally agree with what Dark said, and I like his framing of, hey, there's 21 million of this monetary unit that we call Bitcoin. When you do the homework on it, you know that all the boxes check as far as, hey, is this thing stable, blah, blah, blah. We've all done that homework. So when you're talking about price, for me, it's kind of cool because there's certain like benchmarks that are, monumental, and I think 100K is one of those. But I think it'll just give us more enthusiasm going into this event where we're able to meet each other. And I'm even more stoked. Like, I just can't wait to.
Lawrence,
Yeah.
sorry to jump in here. So, I mean, I remember, I think it's 4 months ago, where I asked this one guy who bought his, or tried to explain Bitcoin to his whole family, if 100,000 felt acceptable, or I don't know how should I put it better. For me, it does, okay? And I studied Bitcoin pretty hard. I don't want to bring the hours up again. And I just also want to say something about Joe, because I agree with Darkside. What Joe does not get, and this is really hard to accept, and I still try to wrap my head around. The system is insolvent. Why is it insolvent for me? Because I cannot understand these numbers anymore. Okay, when we talk about trillions or whatever, that makes no sense for me. That's why that's very hard to accept, right? So in all what we talk with these products and stuff, we still do that in an insolvent system.
That's such a good point, right? It's completely insolvent. And to hear Joe kind of trumpeting the fact that they're gonna ease SLR regs, they're gonna do this, they're gonna do that. Thomas really made a great point. The quality of the buyer of U.S. Treasuries matters, right? And more, that quality continues to go down. It continue U.S. Treasuries, the basis of our debt-based Ponzi scheme, continue to be bought by levered hedge funds, overly leveraged banks that don't have the reserves, the Federal Reserve itself, the Treasury itself, right? Like, you know,
Dark side. How much does a trillion? How many zeros does a trillion have? 12 or 15?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
How many zeros does a trillion have? 12 or 15?
I have no fucking clue. I can't count that high. Do you know if you spent your entire life from the second you were born trying to count to a trillion, you wouldn't make it. You wouldn't even get close.
Yeah, I think that the
Just
time thing is interesting to me because if you look at a million versus a billion versus a trillion, a million seconds is like an 11 days. A billion seconds is like 30-ish years. A trillion seconds is 31,000 years.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, another way to try to comprehend these things is by volume. So like if you stacked up even like paper bills that represented it, even with these volumes sitting next to one another, they are like mind-bogglingly different. Like it's really hard for the average brain to wrap around like the difference between these numbers. And I don't know if it was Dark or who it was talking about the TARP deals back in '08 and whatnot, where we were talking in the billions, but now we're in the trillions and just not even thinking a thing of it. Like, oh yeah, the debt's 36 trillion. Oh yeah, yeah. These numbers are absolutely mind-boggling. They're almost to the point where they mean nothing. We're probably at that point where it's just Lawrence, and then I checked the debt block and see, okay, and I don't really know how bad it really is, but I see that every citizen has like 120,000 of debt to the government. I mean, seriously, okay, if I have 100,000 of debt, buddy, I would like think, what the fuck, okay? And they don't even know it, okay, because they break it all down, right? And I mean, come on, and then we see, okay, actually, not even half of us are actually real in the productive economy. Okay, thanks for the trillions. sorry, I was embedded in the side chats. That Terrence was not, it appears, because we keep a running thing going on the side. Simon's up here. How are you, Simon?
Hey guys, just doing some live coverage of the Mijinsky case.
Oh yeah,
Um,
what's the verdict on that? I mean, I'm sure the verdict isn't in yet, but
yeah, no,
how's
it's
that
not in.
rolling?
Yeah, they're just doing some live. They're just doing some live tweeting, but he's just got his lawyer, terrorists, trying to make out how he's such a good person, and he wrote a book on gravity, and giving the sob story. While all the meantime, he had the three shell companies where he siphoned off so much of the profits, pretending like he cares at the moment. So yeah, we'll soon see. But he's speaking to the judge right now, crying and giving his sob story.
Hey, Simon,
Um,
based on everything you know, because I know you've been following this intimately ever since it collapsed, what do you think is going to be the end result? And is Mashinsky, through these shell companies, keeping still a lot of customer funds? Is he going to be able to obfuscate those from authorities?
Yeah, absolutely. The lawyers set it up so that he can get, he had his three shell companies, Koala 1, Koala 2, and Koala 3. And his wife and children are the beneficiary to it. And he had his Israeli shell companies and some trusts he put out there. And the co-founders are all doing business with Netanyahu. By just, I guess I'm not allowed to say these things, right? Under these words, you're not allowed to say Israel or anything.
Well, no, we didn't do the drinking game yet, but
Yeah.
sticking to Celsius. So those Koala 123 funds, whatever he put in there, Bitcoin, are you saying they just can't be touched the way it's set up?
Yeah, I think they're set up as solid trusts, and the DOJ has said, he's pretending like he's sorry, but he's still, I think he's giving up 48 million and 9 properties. That's what he's giving up. But the accounts for Koala 1, Koala 2, and Koala 3, he's made himself a creditor in
in the actual bankruptcy, so he was still trying to get money out of creditors, and claiming that it's not his, it's his children's and his wife's. But yeah, it's interesting.
So what do you think will happen? What do you think the ultimate verdict will be based on everything you know?
So the DOJ has recommended 20 years. SBF got 25. I think although the victims were worse than Celsius, it was, while FTX like took down a lot of people, it was predominantly traders and speculators. The victims of like Celsius were just really, your average retiree, average American. Like, he ruined a lot of people's lives, ruined a lot of just very average people's lives. So Hey Simon, I the think birds the sound victims were beautiful worse. behind you, by the way. All You hear right, the birds singing? It's lovely. Yeah, I thought you'd like that. Yeah. But yeah, I think I thought today is Joe coming up a bit of his Fed derangement syndrome. It's getting like really hard to justify. There's some serious simping for the Federal Reserve in this system. I don't know how this thing's gonna, I mean, you can keep pulling out some numbers to say everything's all good, but I don't know. I don't know what to say at this stage.
But so do you think, sorry, just sticking with Celsius for a sec. So are you saying that Celsius will get the same as FTX, or you think it'll be a lot less?
Mishinsky. So
Yeah,
yeah,
Mashinsky. Sorry.
yeah, I reckon. I don't know. Let's see. I don't really know how to judge these things, but I think the victims were worse, so he should get more than SBF. I think based upon that, but I'm not really sure what goes into these things about how you actually determine what punishment is. But I reckon the DOJ's recommended 20. I'd be surprised if he gets less.
Hey, Lauren, I see you brought Lana up here.
Did I do that? Lana, how are you?
Oh, hi, good. How are you? How are you guys?
Super. Thank you.
I have a question about Alex Mashinsky. So prior to Celsius, he was very successful. He had several exits, I think, like $1 billion
Skype.
net. Skype.
Lana,
Oh
you're the
yes.
psychiatrist or psychologist?
Yeah. There. Yeah. Yeah. Psychology. Yeah.
And by
Sorry,
success, you mean you read his pitch in his bio, yeah?
Well, actually, it was 2018, and it was Los Angeles Blockchain Week, and he came from New York. He did a whole presentation on unbanking yourself, and he was pitching Celsius. It was an empty room at that time, and seemed very authentic.
Yeah, so
He
basically,
definitely
but
unbanked a lot of people.
the source of your
Yeah.
judgment of success was him pitching Celsius and telling you how great he was, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Basically, yeah. Saying that
Put it this
he
way,
had the exits.
before Celsius, he was involved in some really some real rug pulls and stuff like that. He wasn't acting like someone that was rich.
Lana, not only this, again, he doubled down and down and down, okay? Everybody who was involved probably would agree, okay, take a hit. Guys, it did not go, or he feeded on our own greed, period. So so he always said, oh, I'm market neutral. He was not even close, okay? It was not over collateralized. He had no people who were really showing up for the loans. The question is, what Lutnick said, can we do it right?
I
don't know.
suspect Lana knows this, but let's let her finish her statement and then question. I don't think this is new to her. Go ahead, Lana.
Oh, well, I think my question was, okay, so he presented as very successful, informed. He did this whole presentation about how, I guess he invented voice over IP. This was money over IP, and Celsius was going to change the world because finally we can take the money out of the banks and earn yield. And so what is his motivation? Was it to basically steal and bring in these people, these friends of his that were shady as well? Just was that the motivation all along, or do we think that he actually wanted to do something positive and then it got away from him and he got too leveraged?
Well, I mean, I think most people start companies trying to do something positive
I don't think he was like Madoff, where he came in to do a Ponzi scheme. But he was just somebody that he comes from the whole startup fake it till you make it type of mentality, and so he's willing to lie, steal, and cheat in order to succeed. And then when you combine that with financial services, you end up in a situation where you're lying, stealing, and cheating in order to succeed, but that costs people a lot of money. And I think he just started losing money and just had a very confident belief in his ability to outtrade. And then his hole just got bigger and bigger and bigger until he was in the billions, and then he would just keep concocting fraudulent schemes to hide it. And so he realized that the only way to hide it was to pump the price of sell token using client Bitcoin, take clients Bitcoin, borrow against it, and then use that in order to pump the price of sell token so he could market to market with an illiquid token, and then like hide this multi-billion-dollar hole that he had. And then his final strategy was to try and recreate Marathon. And he thought, if I could just take out a $2 billion, a $1 billion loan with client Bitcoin, and then I invest it in shit tons of mining equipment. And so he was giving people instant withdrawals where they could withdraw their money, and then investing in the most craziest long-term investment you could ever imagine. So he hid it by pumping the token and using creative accounting. He was also withdrawing all his money at the time, so that tells you his intention. He took about like 50 million at the same time as going on AMAs and telling people to deposit. But then his final strategy was, how do I make 2 billion to cover up the hole? And then he thought he could take a mining company public if he borrowed and financed it by borrowing against client Bitcoin. And then I think he got into bed. All of the fraud with the sell token was done on FTX. So Sam Bankman-Fried knew, what kind of games were being played, and he was selling all his sell token and stuff like that. And then SBF was up to the same game, and so I think they entered into a bit of a battle with each other where they both had multi-billion-dollar holes. And I think they also tried to take each other out. And then SBF was going around trying to acquire all the companies to fill his hole. And then it just required the Fed to have transitory inflation to take the whole thing out. And it turned out the emperor has no clothes, and then he couldn't IPO the company and create another Marathon. And so,
Simon, sorry when I
yeah,
can chime in here.
yeah, go
Again,
for it, Alex.
I think he doubled down too often because Lana, you said it. He said he was very successful. He said, my money is right next to yours. So this now goes on for already more than 5 years. I remember one voting. When do you think this will be over? I said actually in a month. Okay, that's how wrong I was. So again, he was old enough. He was so successful before. He knew what he was doing. I do not take directional risk on the market. It's all over collateralized. You can trust me. And my goal is to bring 1 billion people in.
Hey, I'm not a Catholic, but I am an American, and they just elected the first American Pope. Or selected, Simon. Selected, okay.
Yeah, the Vatican Bank has still got a lot to cover up.
Hey, Lauren, what do you think we go around the
Let's
horn
do
now?
it, buddy. Indeed. Sorry, I was behind the scenes, trying to work out logistics of
I don't need
Vegas.
to know
I've
your
got
administrative
some
process. I just wanted to
people
know if you're ready
in
to
my
close out.
local meetup that are actually looking for tickets. I believe they are looking for budget tickets on a budget. I don't think they want to spend $600, but they want to come hang out. They want to go to our party. Blah blah blah.
Can we turn off the closed captioning for Lauren?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, let's do it. Let's go around the horn.
Pink shirt.
Kindness is at a premium, people. Bitcoin's going up. There's lots to be wary of in the world, as Simon aptly points out to us on a daily basis. Lots of things in the long term, but just a reminder that your friends and family are close by. You shouldn't have to wait too many days for some sunshine. And the only thing rarer than Bitcoin today is kindness across party lines and across different ideologies. So just find a way to love somebody and make their day today.
Pink shirt said Bitcoin today sequentially. Let's clip that. Get it into a
Teef,
song.
you're up.
Bitcoin does not steal from us, neither through inflation or debasement. And remember, we're still early. This is a bottom up movement with the top down imperative. And as big players start to come in, they're still not fully ported into Bitcoin yet. So remember, we are still early.
How about you, Mitch? And I look forward to seeing you in Vegas.
Yeah, look forward to seeing you too. I'll wrap with this. Maybe it's conversation for another day. But Jerome Powell, the Fed goat. I'm not a fan of the Fed. They shouldn't exist.
Greatest of all time, ladies and gentlemen.
He did the soft landing when no one thought he could, and he stopped a bank run in 2023.
Not
How
all
about you,
heroes
Beagle?
wear
Wait,
capes.
it's
Sorry.
it's okay. Just the
You gotta
static
let you
again.
gotta let me work my material in now,
Oh,
Terrence.
okay.
Terrence.
So
Okay,
I'll
okay.
keep that in
We're
mind.
still we're, we're
What
still smoothing out the kinks, ladies and
he
gentlemen.
didn't
Go ahead.
say hard time, so I didn't think you were going to jump in.
Well, it's comedic
Yeah,
timing, sir.
he didn't
Comedic
talk about
timing.
buying melons at the grocery store, so I didn't think you had anything
Hey,
to
hey,
say.
hey, hey, hey. Sir.
Beagle,
Yeah, this was a lot of fun. Thanks for having me up. I just say stay humble, keep stacking sats, and don't mess with shitcoins.
learn from Beagle. Don't place any bets. He's having to work twice as long. Punchy, you've got your hand up. We're going around the horn, but maybe you've got breaking news for us.
Well, you probably already broke it, but the new pope is an American. Went to
I broke it.
Villanova.
I broke it, Puncher.
There you go. Villanova University, my alma mater. So tuition there just went up for those sending their kids there. And yeah, that's it. Thanks, guys. Sorry I had to jump in and out today. Sounded like it was great space.
Thanks, Punchy. Yeah, just don't do that in the future. Stay here. This is the only place to be. Nothing else in life is as important as this.
There's a finite supply of Bitcoin, I've heard.
Dark, we are going around the horn. Any last closing thoughts?
Yeah, look, we're one day closer to ending the Fed and replacing that entire fiat Ponzi scheme with hard money. And it's good to see days like today when, dollar falls versus Bitcoin. And just it can't happen soon enough from my perspective.
Bob, Van, down by the river?
Yes, there's a lot of people in this space and a lot of people who still have not graduated from the idea that Bitcoin is more than an investment. It's actually freedom money. So self-custody, learn how to do that and experience true freedom, not just number go up freedom.
Simon, and then back to Cosmo.
All right. Well, I'd say Bitcoin held in a BlackRock ETF is not Bitcoin. Bitcoin given to Alex Majinski is not Bitcoin. Bitcoin lent against in Strike is not Bitcoin. Bitcoin, the MicroStrategy holds is not Bitcoin. Bitcoin, where you hold the key, is Bitcoin. And Bitcoin is what everybody needs to protect themselves from the financial terrorism of the Federal Reserve. And Jerome Powell works for the banks, and the banks have a very different plan.
Cosmo.
Yeah, you can consume less and be happier, or at least just as happy. Maybe take a couple weeks or so and realize the things, recognize the things in your life that you don't need to be doing, don't need to be consuming. Produce. Let's get back on it. So that's just my thought.
And Loren, back to you to close us out.
Absolutely. No, just echoing what a lot of these speakers were saying, Simon and Cosmo, Bob. Yeah, hold your own keys, guys. Come on, educate yourselves. Get your coins off of exchanges. Like, really, you hear that, but really go do it. Like, that's the real freedom tech here. Um, the freedom tech isn't a Bitcoin cult and we're going to come and save the world. The freedom tech is, oh man, we are in deep doo-doo here. What can we do about it? And when you look around and search for answers, there's not a lot of answers out there. There's no political party that's going to save us. In fact, that's just another tool of division. So for me, I think one of the greatest tools that we have for hope, prosperity, love, all the good stuff is Bitcoin. And we're not out of the woods yet. So let's still do our part, do all we can. And part of that is the things that these speakers are saying. Get your coins off of exchanges, run a node, run a miner if you can, hold your own keys. Like these are the basics. That is Bitcoin, not of the like Simon was saying, like the other stuff is not. So for me, it's a tool of love and hope, and I think that's my message that I want to get out is, hey, love one another, work on yourself, start with you, and let's try to build bridges to people that we don't see eye to eye with, like Josie. Um,
And let's
so
get orange ties. Be like Mitch.
I
Get an orange
actually
tie.
got I do have some orange ties that I'm gonna bring because I can sign off and get behind that message that Mitch had. But I
Also,
also am a freedom guy, so
orange linen as well.
ooh, oh, I'm gonna have to reorder. But no, I mean I like freedom. So if people want to wear sweatshirts, it's cool with me. I don't care. But I definitely respect Mitch and what he's saying with his giddy up. Total hats off for that. So anyway, freedom, love, all the good stuff. And with that, I shall say goodbye. Cosmo, you want to try the sound effects board and see what kind of cool sounds? I'm trying to figure out what they all are. I enjoy the toilet flush. Maybe not that one. That's a little doomer.
I can't hear him. Do the stock down one. I want to hear what that sounds like.